Welcome everyone back to the RtG Baseball podcast for matchup 2. I am your host, Coach Will, joined by our great friend, Coach Andrew.
How goes it, fellow American League East enjoyer?
It goes well because we just won yesterday. So as you know, it all depends on what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday was a win. As I believe you did as well.
Yes, and the fine confines of George Steinbrenner Park, Stadium, whatever they're calling it.
It's a field. It's George M. Steinbrenner Field to you, sir.
Yes.
with a big Rays logo on it now.
Yeah.
But before we get into this, the week that was, that's a fun topic. Have you enjoyed our spring training field as a
neutral partner? The fire alarm went off mid game yesterday. Caused about a 15-second delay, but they sorted that out.
You know what's funny? It's not. I would say it's a huge downgrade, but this type of stuff happened at Tropicana Field anyway.
Yeah, honestly, like, it strangely feels like an upgrade. Like, it's outdoors. It doesn't, I don't know. Just, I hate watching games at the Trop. It's ugly. But
oh yeah, I agree. I mean, I went there in person, not for a baseball game, but for another event, and even just walking inside, it just wasn't what you want. So it took an act of God to end the reign of the Trump. Yeah. So now we are in the midst of matchup number 3. We just had matchup 2. So since the previous matchup was a double matchup, everyone has 3 wins or losses at this point. So let's get started in the breakdown of the matchups. We're gonna go through this quickly, but if something perks your interest, let me know. So our first matchup involved myself versus Team 365 IL. Side note, Coach Joe really needs to change that name. Just tempting fate forever and ever.
Yeah, I need to change my name too. We're due for an upgrade.
But this week didn't matter because Coach Show dominated me. Unfortunately, I have some excuses, but at the end of the day, we lost. Show won 706.5 to 500. I don't know if anyone noticed. Last year or 2 years ago, the scoring is all in increments of 0.5. So there's never going to be anything other than whole number or half, because it was just annoying otherwise. So yeah, we lost by almost 200 points. Coach Show did have the best pitching week by ERA with a 184 ERA this week, and one of the higher just total innings as well. So good effort by Coach Show. I can tell you that in a small sample size, theme of the episode, the average score is 538. Now that accounts for last week. That was 11 days of record, so it's that score divided by 11 for your per day, multiplied by 7, as if it's a week. So accounting for that, 537. There used to be a time when 500 kind of was a round number to look at. You got to remember, we've added a reliever the last couple of years. This year, we added another starter to the lineup, so that number naturally is a little bit higher. And we also, moving on to your matchup, you, as I hope you know, had a fine week.
Yep. Decent bounce back. Nothing special, but good to be in the W column. Alec Bohm is struggling.
Yeah, and actually, I think people noticed this last year, but shout out to the Around the League recap that gets emailed to you and is also accessible on just the homepage of the CBS website. So that does help break down each matchup. So your matchup against Coach Jamie, they point out, the CBS analysts point out that you were led by the tag team of Kevin Gosman and Ozzy Albies, who together scored 133 points. This hasn't changed. 30 is actually a really nice round number to like average score of any given player. It even works a pitcher, just like as this by the end of the season, every like the average player, 30 points. So both of them together, way, way above average. Unfortunately for Coach Jamie, his star, I personally know this, like his team is centered around O'Neal Cruz. He banked everything last year and then doubled down again this year that O'Neal Cruz would lead him to the promised land. Not a great week for Cruz. In fact, no hits at all the entire week.
Yeah, it's been tough for Cruz and the Pirates overall. It's dark days in Pittsburgh outside of Skeens.
Oh yeah, no. It's you hope it's early. You hope it doesn't go the way of like Mike Trout, but for Paul Skeens, that would be unfortunate.
Or perhaps worse, the way of Shohei.
Well, yeah, but at least Shohei and at least makes it to a proper team eventually.
If better for the league, perhaps not preferable for the fans of the team.
Fair. Right, that's reasonable. We also saw a pretty exciting story. So coaches Nick and Nate, so they face former champions, coaches Mehtab and coaches Eric, respectively, and they both have a great performance. Nick would scored 636 points to defeat Mehtab's 567, and Nate is score 587 to beat Eric's 419. And I say interesting because these are two, neither are original members of the league, but both have been pretty consistently like, oh, they're good. They're gonna catch breakout at one of these years, and they are the two undefeated teams left in the league at the moment.
It's always good to rack up a win against coaches Mehtab and Eric as well. They are forces to be reckoned with. So, and anytime you can pick up a win against either of those two,
and you might not be surprised for Nick getting the win, as he was able to get Garrett Crochet on his team, who absolutely dominated this week.
Yeah, Crochet almost going for the no against Chicago. Didn't quite make it all the way, but he is the ace that the Red Sox have been looking for.
Of course, Nate, not to be outdone, he has Hunter Green, who may not be as popular as Garrett Crochet, but Hunter Green is a monster right now. He was the top player last week. He might be, I mean, we had a couple days. He might just be the top pitcher, period. He like routinely throws like 103 miles per hour as a starting pitcher.
And his stats to start out the season have been bananas. His and we might touch on this more in a bit, but his ERA plus, which it's our early the season, is a whopping 4.39 as of earlier this week.
Jesus.
Which I didn't know. Didn't know it got that high, and this was after I think 4 games or so. So he's lighting it up.
Yeah, and just confirmed, Hunter Green is the number 1 pitcher overall right now. Garrett Crochet is number 2 pitcher right now. And shout out to Paul Skeens, we talked about, the number 3 pitcher right now.
It's an impressive concentration of elite pitching at the bottom of the NL Central.
Yeah. Central Division, jeez. We also saw Coach Brian take on Coach Rachel. This was even more actually, was it more of a blow? I might have been blown out more than Rachel's blown out. Let me see. I lost by 206 points, and she lost by 190 points. So yeah, not the biggest blowout of the week, but Brian 570.5, Rachel 385. Brian was one of those stories where he was the breakout last year. People were pretty excited about him in the playoffs, and unfortunately, wasn't able to convert in the semifinals.
Yeah, it's a couple of coaches, myself included, that have made some strong pushes in recent years, but I haven't been able to get across the finish line. But maybe that can change this season.
His most exciting player is definitely rookie. Actually, is he rookie? He might not be rookie eligible anymore, but James Wood of the Nationals dominated. You always get excited about that. And this is, we talked about O'Neal Cruz, like a rookie breaking out for you. He probably becomes your round 7 keeper. If he continues to be great, he's just a cornerstone of your team for the next at least 3 years, maybe 4 years. So it's early, but it's pretty exciting for Coach Brian. And lastly, we had coaches Phil versus Viraj. It was Phil who would come out on top, winning 549 to 499. And for Phil, it'll be intriguing. He's another one where recent rookie, been close, but hasn't. Unlike, he's like a step below Nick. He has not broken into the playoffs yet. But a lot of eyes, a lot of excitement on him. I believe he was another, like you've been in this position. He was another person who, the curse of the number 1 overall pick. He would pick Acuna only for Acuna to instantly be gone for the whole season. So I know he's eager to make a splash this year.
Yeah, he's got speaking of rookie sensations, Red Sox second baseman Christian Campbell.
Oh yes, that's another one.
So that could prove to be an excellent pickup.
And also brings us to our standings. So if we look at the standings right now, we mentioned Nick and Nate are our only undefeated teams, and then we've got myself, Viraj, and Phil all at 2-1. Almost everyone else is at 1-2. Remember, the first tiebreaker is just your points, so score points, people, and then it's what should I call it? Like record against each other. And then for now, Rachel still is defeated, as she is 0-3, 0-3 right now. And this brings us into our this is kind of a blend of topics. So when thinking for fantasy specifically, it's been 2 weeks and 3 matchups so far. How soon do you gotta do something? Like maybe if you've been adding people here and there, sure, but when like you're actively looking to change something about your team.
Yeah, I mean, this is $1 million question, I suppose. That depending on who you ask, the answer might change. Barring any catastrophic injuries, I wouldn't personally make too many changes at the top end. It is not uncommon at all for players to have a cold April, and we're just barely halfway through. So for players who had excellent seasons last year, but are struggling out the gate this year. And taking a quick look, I see Jaren Duran. Last season, he slashed 285, 342, 492. And so far this season, it's 234, 302, 338. I don't believe that trend is going to continue. So I
No,
would
I think a lot of
not be
people
hitting the panic button just yet.
sure, and I think most people in this league have the wherewithal not to panic drop some. Like I don't expect someone or you to drop Jaren Duran. But what about benching your star
Well,
player?
yeah, I think benching is definitely reasonable, and this is where it's so key. It becomes so key to have a deep roster. Is that every player, the best players, will go through these stretches, and they can last several weeks at a time. And if you have a deep bench, you can afford to sit someone like Jaren Duran. And when he, comes back to form, you can swap him out. I don't think it's crazy if someone's slumping to swap them out, especially if they've been underperforming for over a week.
Like should I don't think he did this. Should Coach Show have sat Rafael Devers for matchup 2? So that this past matchup. So after 10 days and probably like 9 games for the Red Sox. He could have, but if he had another third baseman.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at where they're trending. I forget exactly. I think it was still in the first period. The game that you and I went to at Camden Yards, where he got his first and second hits of the season. If you were watching there, that was probably a pretty good indication that he had worked his way out of at least the worst of his slump.
Yeah,
And that would have given me enough confidence to keep him in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the extended matchup actually helped out because after 7 days was basically that game we went to. So if he had to have decided right then, maybe he would have benched him. Like for me, I have the number 7 ranked catcher preseason. So like before the season starts, Yanir Diaz, Astros catcher, number 7. We're in a 12-team league. Number 7 catcher feels pretty good. Well, right now he's got me 5 points in the entire season. He's batting 120, OPS of 370. He's not feeling great.
Yeah,
but he's also a catcher, so like I don't want to carry a second catcher necessarily.
it's a very short position, and I technically have 2 catchers on my roster, but that's
Do you? Okay.
But that is only because one of them, Ivan Herrera, is on the injured list.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've got Laguna Happy, who looks like he might be ill. So I really don't want to be carrying 3 catchers, but hopefully he recovers from that one pretty soon.
Gotcha. I think I like ultimately to help you make these sample size decisions. Having a bench with like multi position eligible players, or maybe like if you're shortstop a stud, you just live and die with it. Maybe maybe in Show's example, he just decides if he slumps, he slumps. No backup third baseman.
Yeah.
But like be ready to make, and even you could like look ahead at matchups. Like you should know before all their pitchers got injured, like the Dodgers pitching is incredible. The Mariners pitching is incredible. Like you can look at the matchups and you have a person who's slumping already and he's facing hard, like crazy good pitchers. Might give him a week off.
Yeah.
If you have the person to fill in, you could even have a spot, like a rotating spot on your team. Like, hey, every single week I replace this guy for like someone hot or someone with good matchups. And then come Monday morning, I can decide to put him in or not. It could even be one of those things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is you look at, sort of what the risk reward is. Who are you swapping in, and what do you think their floor is? Um, because it might feel bad if, say you bench Devers for someone who scores 15 to 20 points, and then Devers pops off and scores 60. That feels bad, but it's not like, you know, scoring 20 points is nothing, you know, versus if, you know, he continued to slump and you got 5 instead or something.
Yeah, like I just remember 30. 30s has been a pretty like we have a big years of sample size. 30 is a pretty good, nice round number. So getting 5, that hurts. That's way below average. I mean, you want more than 30, but 30 is kind of the floor you're looking for. I guess the last I'll say is obviously like you could also look into trading someone. That's always an option. I think you'll find this early in the season, people are just
No,
they're not they don't
not, we're
just they're
not going
just
to want to do
nervous.
that.
They're not ready. But okay, but
Well, part of it
starting the
too is,
conversation now could help you later.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple factors at play. Um, there's a little more parity in a league like this as compared to, it's like the White Sox are not going to do anything of note this season
Hmm.
except maybe dunk on the Red Sox a couple times. Um, uh, but this early on in the season, uh, every team is in it in this league. Um, so if you're gonna make a trade this early on, it's gonna be have to be, as they say, a baseball trade. Um, so you're gonna have to you need something in surplus, and it has to be something that you know someone else needs, and I think it is a bit early in the season to evaluate if players are really gonna have a bad season or if they're just going through a little bit of a funk.
Yeah, I agree. But I say right now it's still early for anything major, but that doesn't mean it's time to like turn your brain off. So this is the time to start building your depth and your backup plans. You pick up somebody who's like on a hot streak as a starting pitcher. You pick them up now, but you don't need to bench one of your current stars if you don't want to. But now if that continues, you have that player without having to trade with somebody else and give up assets potentially. So I think that's like it's important to just just take lottery shots on a lot of people right now.
Yeah,
Like and
and if you
and don't be afraid to drop them. The streak ends, just get rid of them.
and if you find yourself, say with 2 excellent third basemen, um, that might be someone you can stash away in the utility spot and save them to you know trade for some with someone who might have Alec Bohm on their team and he's disappeared.
I would have offered you my like young upstart third baseman on the Cubs, but he got demoted because he wasn't good enough. So it's like, yes, that's important. I was like, man, so the Cubs disagree with me. They're like, oh, nope, 3 weeks, he's done. They sent them back
Most unfortunate.
down. All right. Uh now IRL baseball. So I figured we talk kind of the same thing. So as a fan now, as a fan of your team, how do you deal with the idea of small sample size? Are we? I think yes. Are we still in the small sample size world right now? Who to
Yeah.
tell?
I
Or 4
mean,
weeks from?
it's April 16th. Um, you know, as another podcast has said, we've seen a baseball season before. Um,
Yeah.
we know that you know things aren't finalized by any means, but if you're in a position like the Braves, however, you can't fall too far out of it. Like the AL East, um, if I pull this up right now, the standings.
Everyone's within 3.5 games.
Yeah, that's you'd obviously prefer to be in the Yankees position as compared to the Orioles position. But you can recover from 3.5 games. But the Braves are hiding 13, 6 games out. I mean, that can be pretty tough, especially with the NL West is off to a blazing hot start. So it's not going to be a guarantee that anyone else is going to be able to pick up a wild card.
Just throwing out there. What's your message for the Rockies fans out there? Speaking
Uh,
of the NL West.
well, I guess they sell beer at the stadium. But,
Yep. High altitude, it's kind of
yeah,
fun.
I hear the games are a fun time. A lot of offense.
Seriously though, like even the Rockies, there's a chance. We've seen the Nationals, we've seen the Tigers
Well,
last year, right?
they're 11 out in April.
Come on now, wild card.
The
Even
the
though
Rockies are done. Their season is over.
no. All right,
There
so
is no.
sample size could matter if you're
Well,
severely as bad as
okay.
the Rockies. Then.
Here's the I guess the caveat I'd add is I think priors going into the season are relevant, and roster pedigree matters. It's not everything. Um, but just like we were saying with Devers, he has a large career sample size, and just because he doesn't get a hit one week doesn't mean that we believe uh he's not going to get a hit all season. We have that whole body of work, going back to 2017 to look back on. Whereas the Rockies, like, their roster is not good. They just don't have good players, and they've shown that so far. And so it's just there's not much hope that will miraculously change.
Sure. On the whole, I'm like you're adding up all the like the sum of their parts. It doesn't seem likely they could. There you go. I guess this is more interesting when you zoom in on particular players. So it's been almost 3 weeks. A lot of people have played 17 games, 18 games, 19 games, that type of thing. Like as again from the fan perspective, like do you let yourself get excited yet? Like if you have a player, and you have you have Christian Campbell. I mean, the great start. Like how excited do you let yourself get then, knowing it's a small sample size?
Yeah, I mean, given how difficult it is for rookies to break into the league, it's definitely very exciting. I mean, I think for me, um, you get excited, but what always seems to happen is someone gets off to a hot start, and then the league starts to adjust. They figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and they learn to attack those. And this happens to everyone. And then the real challenge is when, comes when the player then has to adjust to that adjustment. And
Sure.
in the case of Christian Campbell, I don't think the league has adjusted to him yet. It will happen. And I think that's when you really get a sense for, can this be long term? Will this last? Because
Yeah.
in order to last, you have to be able to constantly make those adjustments. But I'm very optimistic. I think, the talent is there.
Yeah. I think this conversation is hardest for people who are in them, like they are performing to expectations, because at the high end, like Aaron Judge is batting 400 right now, on base of 500. It is very easy to be like, well, he's not going to be that all season. And I agree with that. And then the opposite, you could have someone batting 100 right now. It's like, okay, major league players don't bat 100, so he'll do better. But I don't know, like you're batting 280. Like by this, you still shouldn't trust the person just batting 280. Like it's only been 3 weeks. So that is a little harder, like kind of like a nuanced, like it almost makes me not want, like cheer for my wins, but like I like not actually judge any of the players yet.
Well, and I think that's why, you'll hear, regression to the mean, and I think it's why people, you know, have a baseline built in of what they expect uh, from a player based on what they've done in the past. And, 1 week, 2 weeks, that's not necessarily going to um, shift that baseline um, heavily. But then if it starts to continue and continue, then, um, you can start to get excited or worried, depending on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's actually. What I wanted to bring is, so there's an article from quite a long time ago. When is this source? This is 2012. Like aging ourselves here, quite a long time ago. And the goal of the study was how many, like how long in the seasons does it take for me to be confident in a certain stat for a player. It's like a player has a home run rate. Like how long has to pass before I'm like, yeah, I think he'll keep this up. Uh, so I was curious if some of these surprise or don't surprise you. So and the units are typically in plate appearances or at bats. So we'll work together, do some math to convert that to days. But strikeout rate for hitters is one of them, and their results show that actually stabilizes 60 plate appearances.
Really?
And that's, I don't know, divide by 4, so 15 games before you start being like, okay. And I wonder if that's just because uh that's a very like obvious skill that is difficult to get worse at or get better at. Um and the range isn't even that big, like 30%. A lot of people around 30%, and nowadays that's normal. That used to be bad. And then the good hitters are at the good like plate discipline hitters are at 20%. Um but by that logic, I mean, let me pull somebody up. Let's see. Let's just do uh who's interesting. Ellie De La Cruz. Strikeout rate. This is probably gonna be a big number. Let's see. Uh okay, fair. I stay corrected. So his strikeout rate is uh 12. Actually, let me fact check this just in case AI is just lying to me. Because you cannot always be sure. AI was not lying to me. So right now it's at 27 round up 28%. So high, but not horribly high, like not dreadful. And you probably imagine there's some kind of tolerance. So maybe 28% plus or minus 4% or something. So it's not saying like it's going to be 28% for the entire season, but it'll be close to 28%.
Interesting.
By the way, do you get mad when your players strike out anymore? Like,
Um,
or I guess it's relative. So like my dad hates it. Like they're all bums. They all strike out, for example. Where I'm probably not. So after that,
it depends on what they're swinging at. If it's like the most obvious, like this guy is gonna throw a slider 3 feet off the plate, and they swing it anyways, then that could be frustrating. I think the thing that annoys me the most is when pitcher can't throw strikes. That's just walking guys. That I think annoys me the most.
by the way, the walk. I guess, but this is walks for a hitter. Do we have walks by a pitcher? It looks like these. This probably makes sense that this is for hitters, not pitchers.
Yeah, because much more sample size. Yeah.
But for what it's worth, for a hitter, the walk rate is 120 plate appearances, so twice as long as with strikeouts.
I guess maybe that's just because strikeouts are more frequent.
It probably is. If I had to imagine, like it's pretty rare to have like a 4 walk day, but nowadays a 4 strikeout day can definitely happen.
Yeah.
Home run rate, 170 plate appearances. Also, these are pretty slow numbers. Batting average, 910 at bats, which means the entire season passes, and I still can't trust your batting average, which is kind of weird because on the last day of the season, I feel like I know what your batting average is going to be.
Yeah,
because the season's about to end. But I guess this is like if the season never ended, like if the season was infinite, what would it be?
Yeah, or I guess just saying that as a stat, it is volatile enough that, knowing what it is at the All-Star break is just a mediocre predictor at best, I guess. But I guess, and I haven't read the article, I wonder how that would change if you extended the range of the batting average. That's considered like, this is like within the bounds that you set, you know what I mean? Yeah, because I would say, if someone's hitting, is it like within 15 points or something? Yeah, because I'd say that's pretty stable, plus or minus.
But I guess like we know there's hot and cold streaks. So like what, like that there can be streaks at all. Like, can you go on a hot streak in September? Like, yes. So it can't be that. It has to be volatile enough for you to go on a hot streak and a cold streak.
Well, I guess my question is like, by his metrics, is he saying like, if your starting batting average is 280 and then it goes up to 290, is that too much of a change? Because I would say like, yeah, that's pretty predictive. That's not too far off from 280. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah, I think we could link the article here if people are curious. He's trying to say I have a sample, and I'm seeing however big that sample is, how predictive is it if I repeat the sample again? So if I had 250 plate appearances, how likely is it that the next 250 plate appearances will produce the same results?
Well, I guess that's what I mean is the same as in within like exactly on the mark, within 10 points, within 20 points.
It looks like what's this? Is it R squared? The like reliable correlation factor? The 70%. it looks like, is the like, unless it gets past that, it's not like good enough, I think, is what it looks like here. So I imagine if you raise that to a higher standard, then these numbers will all shoot up a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see season to season. I mean, the tough thing is that, like, in real life, my sample of the 2024 season is not going to be this, like, the conditions are now different in the 2025 season. So it is difficult to even take this as a concept and go, like the guy's older and or he's on a new team, like all that stuff. I think what I like, I guess real quickly, is there any others? On base percentage and slugging are both within the same season. On base percentage is 460 plate appearances, and that sounds like August. Let's just say, just eyeballing it. Slugging percentage, they have as 320 at bats because slugging uses at bats as a denominator, not plate appearances. That just sounds like the All-Star break. So together, OPS feels like trade deadline time. Like, I'm starting to believe in my OPS.
Yeah.
Ground ball rate and fly ball rate are both 80 balls in play. And so balls in play is just all your plate appearances minus your strikeouts and your walks and other things like that. So 80 is like April, like at some point in April, I would think. And that's plausible. Now, but look at this line drive rate though, 600, which might be like how walks are less frequent than strikeouts, like line drives maybe are less frequent than everything else. So the samples, it takes long to get confident in it. I think ultimately with the small sample size stuff, I think you just got to pick a number you're comfortable with, and then use a rolling average. I think you should pick. I believe in 3 weeks of baseball, and then whenever you look at a player, it's his like last 3 weeks. Or and so pick, you want 6 weeks, pick 6 weeks, 6 weeks. Because then you go to a game and they show their batting average on the scoreboard, but I mean, what if he's doing much better now than he was before? And not like in the last week, but like in the last month. And I think that would help. That would help me be like, or like stack the roll. Like, I don't know, does this exist? Like a plot a graph of every time you refresh that rolling average. And then you could watch it go up and down. And then like look at the trend line of that.
And see how much that varies.
Yeah.
And I suspect though too that that amount of variance is gonna vary itself wildly from player to player. I think, there's such a thing as streaky players and consistent players, even though every player goes through streaks to some degree. So maybe it's just that certain players, it's harder to know exactly where they are.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna just for myself in my fandom, I'm gonna look for players. I've picked 3 weeks. So how many? I'll say 18 games. 18 games was divisible by 3, and then for the team, I'm going to look at chunks at 9. I told you my chunks theory. 9 chunks of 9. So right now, the Yankees are in their second chunk, and they are 4-4. So if they win tonight, they will have won their chunk, and I'll be a happy man. But if they lose, they'll have lost their chunk. I'll be sad.
I will say for me personally, I feel like as a fan, I think that window is larger than as a fantasy coach. I think, in fantasy, if you lose a week, you lose the whole week. It's not like a week of mediocre baseball where you'll, still pick up a couple games probably. So, I'm, much quicker to move players in and out of the lineup than I would be for
Yeah, we'll look at it like this way. So we have 20 weeks of regular season fantasy, 22 matchups, but 20 weeks. And 3 of those weeks have gone by. 15%. 15% of 162, I looked this up earlier, is 24-ish games. So like in fantasy, it's as if we're already at game 24. So it's like we're a week in the future kind of thing. And that's just gonna keep on going and faster and faster with that. So yeah, you want to react. You probably want to react faster for your fantasy team than you do as a fan. But just don't let those bleed into each other. Like it's so like do overreact in fantasy and don't overreact for your baseball team.
yeah.
All right. I think we need to make a bet now because you disrespected the glorious Colorado Rockies. So you do believe in their small sample size, but I have some faith. So what is bold enough for me to put on the line here? Like well, how do I win this? You got an idea?
No, you go ahead.
I imagine it's record based. So I want them to be okay.
I mean, I was gonna say place because I think that there is no way that the Rockies finish better than last in the National League West.
Better than last. I'll handshake you on that.
I might even go so far as to say they could be last in the National League.
Last in the National League. I guarantee you they will be something other than 15 out of 15 in the National League.
Who do you have at the bottom?
Let's go. Do I do Marlins or Pirates? Because the Pirates are just a mess, like outside of baseball too, right now.
Well, they have Skeens.
But they have Skeens. They're in the Central, so like they might get tricked into thinking that they should like trade for players. So no, Marlins. Marlins will never believe. They'll never improve their team, and they will be 15 out of 15 in the National League. Let's we're gonna make this stay Marlins versus Rockies for the whole season. We'll check up on them. Even though technically, I mean, I actually don't need the Marlins to do anything special. I just need the Rockies to not be last. That is great.
Are you would you like me to tell you what the Fangraphs 2025 projected full season as of today is for the Colorado Rockies?
I'd love to hear that. Go ahead.
The Rockies are projected, according to Fangraphs, to finish with a 60-102 record, and that is their lowest projection, not just in the National League, but in all of Major League Baseball. Can you guess who's above them?
Who's next?
Who's next?
The White Sox?
It is the White Sox.
The White Sox. But the thing is, again, the White Sox I just can't trust the Central teams in terms of like they might get extra wins just by nature of being in the Central. So that's why I went Marlins.
Can you name 3 players on the Rockies?
Oh yes. No, they try. I was about to say. I think I was about to say Nolan Jones, and I think he got traded. So I think my first guess was wrong. Trade to the Guardians. They got Ezekiel Tovar, shortstop. In my other fantasy league, I picked up rookie Chase Stolander. There we go.
Fairly proper.
You probably like the hitting coach now, you know.
Troy Tulowitzki.
I can tell you, I don't have no idea who their manager is.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is it Bud Black? Did he come back? I feel like I saw something. Let's see, Rockies manager. Bang. No, it gave me the first ever manager. I wanted the manager now. I think it is Bud Black. Let's go.
Okay.
Wow, since 2017 hasn't been fired. What? But all right.
Okay, I know Kyle Freeland. Herman Marquez. Okay.
Herman Marquez.
Luis Peralta. Yeah. Those are real players.
Kyle Farmer.
Kyle Farmer.
Show.
Yeah.
I know he's a big lefty masher.
Ramadan.
They got squad. And they play in high altitude. You know, they got smoke.
Okay. They have a handful of actual real players.
Yeah. Adam Ottavino might go back to them one day. Original Rocky. All right. So that was a good sample size conversation. I'm very curious to see how this goes. If at any point the Rockies come out of the cellar, I will be taking tentative victory laps. Yeah. I'll be so sad. Like they're 15th for the entire season. It'll be so sad.
Yeah, that was my prediction.
All right. But thanks all for tuning in. Good conversations again, and we look forward to matchup number 3 to see who earns another win. Until next time, everyone. Ciao.